Welcome to Sip and Say with Stephanie. Good evening, good evening, good evening. This is the Stephanie Humphrey channel and the Stephanie Humphrey podcast. Sip and Say with Stephanie tonight. How y'all doing? I am feeling pretty good tonight. Yes, y'all, I feel really, really good. I'm blessed. I'm excited. I'm happy. I am feeling so good. Good. I had not come on in singing mode, but I will let you all know that before I got on the broadcast, I made a birthday mix on a one of the music streaming channels that I use, and I made the birthday mix like years ago, and I actually forgot that I made the birthday mix. So I pulled it up a couple of weeks ago and was jamming to it. Then I was cleaning up, straightening up, and everything, and I was just like, I just want to dance. So I started singing. Celebration by Kool and the Gang, right? So I was just singing and dancing. I was like, I'm gonna put my birthday mix on. So, I got some Earth, Wind, and Fire up there. The first like three, maybe four songs are Earth, Wind, and Fire. So, I'm jamming to September. And I can't even think I'm thinking Celebration, but it's Cool in the Game. They do have a Celebration, Earth, Wind, and Fire. I can't even think of the songs I was singing right now, but I was singing before I came on, so I'm in a singing mood now. So, how y'all doing? How are you all doing mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically? Mentally, how are you all doing? I am doing absolutely amazing. I'm doing great. I'm doing wonderful. Yes, I was doing Celebration Earth, Wind, and Fire. Yes. And so I feel good. I feel really good, you all. Everything is going fairly well in my life. I've actually made the decision about my schooling. I'm not going to finish my degree in community Spanish interpretation, y'all, because it has gotten hard. And I'm not gonna stop just because it got hard, because I can push through hard things. That's okay. But I feel like I would be wasting my time, my professor's time, and my own money, um, and my money from the reimbursement, right? Because I've hit a snag in how verbs are like conjugation and and verb agreement. And I got the first part of it, but now I'm stuck, and it is hard to process that in my brain. And so, I was like, well, God, there are other ways that I can learn Spanish. Like there are programs, there's software, there's other things that I could do to learn Spanish to be able to communicate with the families that I'm now serving, and then to hopefully use this with my nonprofit. And so I made the tough decision this week. I think I probably unofficially made it last week. Officially, I made it this week. I'm just like, you know what? There's no need to waste my time anymore on this. I don't know if it's just my processing right now. I don't know if it's my age and my processing. I don't know if it's because I'm doing so many other things that having to process and learn, it's just not where I am right now in this season. And I'm not mad at all that I took the class, that I started to pursue this degree, because it's something that I really want to do. I really want to reignite my Spanish. I used to speak Spanish fluently, but it's been many years. I did not keep up with the language. And so, of course, I lost it over the years. It's so interesting. When we did the oral exam, I think in February, I actually spoke better than I thought I would, because I was just like, these noun and verb agreements, even though it's not like noun and verb agreement in the Latina and the Spanish language, excuse me, it's like more of the verb conjugation and making sure that I say it correctly so that the listener understands what I'm saying. So I did well. I actually did much better than I thought I had done. I'm thankful for that. But no, I'm going to finish the semester out, and then I'm going to be done, y'all. It's just not, I'm just not processing well and in that aspect of the Spanish language. And so again, I'll just look for other means, or I'd have some other programs in my mind that I can do for free or low cost. Um, And even though the community college is low cost, like I really, if I think if it was in me to really press forward with this, I would be fine. But it's just not in me to do it. And so I'm gonna again finish out the semester, then I'm gonna be done. But I'm thankful for the opportunities. I'm thankful for what I've learned so far because like we've done projects. We've done a project, we've done one project a month. Yeah, we've done one project a month on a country in Spain, and not in Spain, but in South America. And I've learned so much, and it's been so exciting. The information that I've learned, the beautiful places that are in South America that I didn't know about, the historical figures in South America. It's just been wonderful. It's been a wonderful learning process. It's just, I'm stuck at the verbs. I'm stuck. Y'all, like literally, I'm stuck. Like I'm just stuck. And so I think it is best for me to finish the semester and be done. Now, things could change in the next few weeks. I don't anticipate they will, but things could change and I may make a different decision, but I think this is best. And I'm not mad about it. I'm not sad about it. I'm not upset about it, but it's just something that I really desired to do. And I'm going to have to pursue it or do it in a different way. Praise God. So, have you all made any major decisions in your life? Do you have some decisions that you are thinking about, pondering, praying about now? Like, just hit me up or drop it in the chat. Add it to the comment section if you're listening to the rebroadcast. Yeah, I just embrace all of me. And I'm gonna leave that there. So yeah, you all. So how are you all doing? Go ahead and I know I said how are you all doing, then I started talking about me. So let me know how you're doing. Put it in the chat. If you're listening to the rebroadcast, let us know in the rebroadcast how you're doing. Also, what are y'all sipping on tonight? I really wanted me some scarpinade. I don't have any scarpinade. I have muscadine. I have 2 bottles of muscadine. Let me make sure. No, I do have some Scarpinade. I have 2 bottles of Scarpinade in the refrigerator, alcohol free. And I went to the refrigerator to grab a bottle, and God said, drink water tonight. So I'm sipping on water in my Stephanie Humphrey Channel 1. So what are you all sipping on tonight? This is Sip and Say with Stephanie. So let me know what you're sipping on. Okay, y'all, we're going to get right into it, right? I have quite a well, yeah, I do. I have a lot of information. I don't have a lot of news, but I do have a lot of information to share with us on tonight. So tonight I'm going to give you an update on Miss Josephine Wright. I've had this information for like 3 weeks. I think the last sip and say with Stephanie when I got off of the broadcast, I don't even know. I got the news shortly after. I think I must have been listening to Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network afterwards and got the news. And I was like, oh no, I just got off a Sip and Say with Stephanie. And I was like, it's going to have to wait until the next Sip and Say with Stephanie. So you probably have already heard the news or the update about Miss Josephine Wright, but I'm going to share that with you on tonight. I'm also going to give you news about a scholarship at Duke that will no longer be. As it historically was. It's being discontinued in a sense, and then it's being reestablished, reinvented in a different way. So we're going to talk about that. Yesterday was the last day of Black Maternal Health Week. I think I said it right. I didn't even realize it was Black Maternal Health Week or Black Maternal Awareness Week. And so we're going to talk about that tonight, give you some information for those of you who are wanting to get pregnant, might be pregnant now, have nieces or daughters or granddaughters that will soon be pregnant or looking to get pregnant. It's just some great information that I'll share with you on tonight. And then April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. So I want to share some information with you about that as well. So that's our show for tonight. And so again, I'm going to get right into it because it is a lot. I was cleaning my glasses. That's why I was taking my time cleaning these beautiful glasses that I have. And so yeah, so that's what we're talking about tonight. So you all, the first story is Miss Josephine Wright. So if you all remember, Miss Josephine Wright is a young lady from Hilton Head, where Bailey Point Investments, a developer, is building around her property. They're building a 147 unit housing development around her property. They did offer to purchase Miss Josephine's property, but she decided not to sell. The property has been in her family for generations, and um, she wanted to make sure that it stayed in their family. And so according to Miss Josephine Wright, the Bailey Point Investments allegedly did some things around her home that were not neighborly. I can't remember all of them right now, so I can't remember what all of them were, but Bailey Point Investments sued Miss Josephine Wright, saying that the items on her property, like her shed and other things, infringed on their property line. And so I think it all boiled down to is they were mad because she wouldn't sell to them. Because again, they're building all around her house. If her property would have been sold and they could have had that land, it probably would have, it would have either increased their units or just made it easier for them to build. But Miss Josephine was like, no, I'm not selling. So they sued her and she countersued them. Before she could see the results of the lawsuits, Miss Josephine Wright passed away. She actually passed away in January at 92 years old. I believe 94, excuse me. Miss Josephine Wright passed away at 94 years old. I would not have known she was 94 because just looking at her, she did not look maybe in 70s, maybe she did not look 94. She was beautiful, beautiful elder who is now an ancestor. But she passed away before the lawsuit, before she got the results or, the decision of the lawsuit. Since Miss Josephine Wright's passing, Bailey Point Investments has settled with the family, you all. They have settled with the family. And so they are not allowed to contact the Wright family. Bailey Point is not permitted to contact the Wright family about purchasing their land, and they must build a privacy fence around Miss Wright's property, which of course would keep things private with her home as the units are still, being built and developed. They're in the process of being built and developed. So that is part of the settlement. I don't know if there was any money attached to it because that information was not available when I did my research. So I don't know if any money was attached to it, but these two pieces of the settlement are in effect. Bailey Point Investment cannot contact the Wright family about purchasing their property, and they must build a security fence. I hope that there are some specifications about the security fence. Like I hope there are some guidelines about the sturdiness of the security fence, the height of the security fence, and just everything to make sure it's sturdy. Like they don't just get a flimsy little fence and put up. Like I hope that there are some specifications about it so that that security fence will last. Like I know fences don't last forever, but if it's strong and sturdy, it should last for some decades. And so I pray that there's some guidance around that. And just to give you a little bit more information about Miss Josephine Wright, in case you didn't know, her and her husband, Mr. Samuel Wright Jr., her late husband, Mr. Samuel Wright Jr. Miss Wright and her husband, they worked in New York for many years, and then they moved down to Hilton Head some 30 years ago, just to have a place of peace, peace and tranquility from the hustle and bustle of the city. And so they purchased this. Well, they didn't purchase this property. The property was already a part of the Wright family, was already in the Wright family's, was already a part of the Wright family. Let me get it right. So his family owned, Mr. Wright's family owned, it's a 1.8 acre property that his family owned and passed down to him. And so the community, I thought was interesting. I didn't have this information when I reported the story, I think a year or so ago, but the neighborhood that they moved in was named after Caesar Jones. He was a Black, formerly enslaved man, and he was also a civil War veteran. And the community that they moved in was a Gullah Geechee community, but the neighborhood was Jonesville. Okay, the neighborhood was called Jonesville, named after Mr. Caesar Jones. And so he actually bought this property immediately after the Civil War. And I don't know how it got distributed. Maybe other families began to buy the property. But however it happened, Mr. Wright's family was able to get 1.8 acres of that land, and that's where his family settled. Him and his wife settled, and of course, they plan to leave that property for their grandchildren, and they will, well, for their children and their grandchildren, and they will be able to do so. So, Miss Wright has 4 children, 40 grandchildren, and dozens of great and great great grandchildren that she will have left, that will be able to enjoy the property that she left for them. Yes. And so I was so excited when I saw that update. I pray nothing but success and continued generational wealth and growth for Miss Josephine Wright's family and her descendants. I pray just blessings of peace and unity in their family. And I'm so thankful for Miss Josephine Wright fighting for what was hers. I'm so glad that she stood flat footed in, this is my property. No, I'm not selling. And no, you're not going to take it from me just because you want it. It's mine. I'm glad she countersued Bailey Point Investment. I'm glad that they settled with the family so that they can move forward in their life in peace. I know they're still grieving their mom and their grandmother and their great grandmother and their great great grandmother, but at least they can go forth in their life in peace, knowing that this family property remains in the family, and that family property will hopefully again build generational wealth for Miss Josephine Wright's family for years and years to come. All right. So I'm excited. Woo, 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 woo. So I'm excited. And so the last thing that I would like to share with you is that Altamise Nicole, she's a publicist for the family, and she shared in a statement, they know that their grandmother is proud because they continued and they didn't back down, talking about the lawsuit. She also said they continued the fight Mrs. Wright started, and I'm so glad that they did. I'm glad that her granddaughter, Miss Travis Graves, and the other family members, I'm glad that they did not back down, that they continued to pursue the lawsuit. I feel confident in honor of their mother and their grandmother and great grandmother and great great grandmother. So I'm really excited to hear from the family and what they have, what they will do or will, have done in the future. And so, and I know that said I was past tense and present tense, but I understand what I'm saying. And hopefully you do too. I do want it noted that the family did start the Josephine Wright Foundation. And this particular work will go towards helping other families that was in the same situation as Miss Josephine Wright. Because I do remember that the family, actually Miss Graves, her granddaughter, started a GoFundMe for Miss Josephine Wright to help with her legal fees. And so they decided to again establish the Josephine Wright Foundation in order to support families in the future who may go through this same thing. So again, celebrations, blessings to Miss Josephine Wright's family. All right, you all. I was a little surprised at this. Um, I was surprised, and then after I remembered the Supreme Court decision, then I was like, okay, so I'm not surprised. So Duke University is a popular university, mainly for for their academics, but mainly for their sports team. Let's just keep it real, basketball, right? And so Duke University has decided they had a um, scholarship particular for top applicants of an African descent, but they have decided to discontinue this particular scholarship. It was called the Reginaldo Howard Memorial Scholarship Program. This particular scholarship program was established to was a merit scholarship established to support people of Black or African descent Black people on the basis of their academics, and there was also an aspect of financial need attached to this scholarship program. So it was named in honor of Reginaldo Reggie Howard. He was Duke's first Black student government president. He passed away in 1976 when he was a sophomore. He got in a automobile accident rather, and he passed away. And so this scholarship was established in 1979 in honor of him and the history that he made as the first Black student government president on Duke University's campus. And so from 79 up until now, this scholarship has been awarded to attendees of Duke University, but again, it's now being discontinued. Now the recipients who have already received the award, the scholarship program award, they will continue their schooling at Duke with this money, like with this award. So that will not affect them in any way, but it is closed to new recipients or closed to new applicants. And so after 2028, this particular program will be closed as is, because of course that will be the end of the award for the current recipients. And so this has all happened, you all, based on the Supreme Court's decision to ban discrimination in college admissions. Not discrimination, let me say that again. The Supreme Court justice decided to end affirmative action, let's just say it how it was, in college admissions, okay? And based on that Supreme Court decision to end affirmative action, race-based affirmative action for Black people, people of color, Black people in particular, colleges and universities across the United States have started to make changes to their merit-based scholarships for people of color, in particular for Black people. This happened. I don't know all of the universities that it has happened to, because I have not done that research. When I saw that Duke had done it, I was like, well, let me just check this out because Duke is in my area. And so voting matters, because Donald Trump was able to get 3 conservative Supreme Court justices on the Supreme Court during his 4-year tenure. Amy Coney Barrett, Brett Kavanaugh, and the Gershon, I can never remember the Gershons, Neil Gorsuch. I don't even know if I'm saying his name right. But he was confirmed in 2017, Kavanaugh in 2018, and Amy Coney Barrett in October of 2020. That should not have even, that should not have even been, I don't know what was wrong with my enunciation tonight, but that should not even have been allowed, but it was allowed. So he was able to get 3 conservative Supreme Court justices to sit on the bench. And since then, Roe versus Wade, Roe versus Wade, but the Dobbs case has been overturned. Affirmative action in college admissions has been overturned, which we already talked about that on the show. And I don't know what else is coming, y'all. I feel like we're not done. I feel like they may come after contraceptives. I feel like they may come after other things. I knew what I wanted to say. Interracial marriages, I think they may try to come after that as well. So voting matters, you all. Voting matters. So Duke has discontinued this program for Black recipients. What they did decide to do, well, let me share this about the scholarship, just so you can have the information, even though it's not going to be in existence anymore. But historically, there were 15 to 20 Black students who were selected to be scholarship finalists for the Reginaldo Howard scholarship program. The finalists had to display leadership, community service, social justice, and academic achievement. One of the recipients, who is now a senior, Mr. Drew Green, said, "I think the Reggie is a program that has given me a lot over the years. It's given me not only a community, but a group of friends, a group of academic peers that I enjoy spending time with. It has been a fantastic experience." So, of course, in that regard, I am gutted. You know what? I have to say, I'm not sure if Drew Green is male or female or binary, so please forgive me if I got your gender wrong. Also, another student who is currently a junior, Miss Maya Harris, she noted it is very much disheartening to hear that this program that opened the door for me to come to Duke is now being closed essentially, even though it will take on a new form. And I'm going to tell you what that new form is. So, the Office of University Scholars and Fellows is going to partner with the Mary Lou Williams Center for Black Culture to establish the Reginaldo Howard Leadership Program. So this is what the scholarship, the Memorial Scholarship will look like moving forward. But now it's not just going to be open for Black or Black applicants. It's going to be open to everybody. It's going to be open to all undergraduate students, regardless of race. And it will not include a competitive selection process as the original Memorial Scholarship Program did. Oh, y'all, this is so disheartening. It's disheartening. It's disheartening. Y'all, I don't even want to read what she said because I don't. What I will say is that the current Reggie scholarships, excuse me, not scholarships, but the current Reggie scholars, they were informed by email about the change in this Memorial Scholarship Program. I'm pretty sure based on the two students who are recipients of the scholarship program, based on their thoughts, I'm pretty sure most, if not all of the other recipients felt the same way. It's so interesting that scholars and alumni also received a follow-up email summarizing the decision. And part or a little snippet of that follow-up email said, "In light of changes to the legal landscape related to race-based considerations in higher education," I'm pretty sure they use that as a clarifying statement to indicate why this change has been made. I think they were scared somebody's gonna sue them. Ain't even gonna lie. So that's what I was thinking when I read the first part of this article. And then when I got to the second page of it, then I realized that they already have a lawsuit pending for another program that I'm going to tell you about in just a moment. So they also noted that the philanthropic funding that goes towards the Reggie Scholarship, it actually will go towards a new leadership program. So I'm glad that the money will still be there. It's just unfortunate that Black students or Black applicants have to or will suffer, I ain't gonna say have to, but will suffer because of this Supreme Court decision. Voting matters. Voting matters. So as I continue to read, Duke also has the Alice M. Baldwin Scholars Program. This program is determined to be an all-female program or a program that supports females. I didn't get a chance to look into detail. I went to the website, but I did not get a chance to look into detail about all that this program offers. But it's for young ladies, it's for females, it's for girls, it's for women, for young women that are attending college. And so they actually have a Title IX complaint that was filed in September against this particular scholars program, which alleged that because the program is all female, that it's reverse discrimination. Voting matters, y'all, because this is absolute ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Is absolutely ridiculous. Reverse discrimination because a program goes to meet the needs of girls. Oh, gee, y'all pray, y'all, because y'all pray. Voting matters. All right, y'all. And so I feel that because this Title IX complaint has been filed against you because of the Alice M. Baldwin Scholars Program, I think that was a deciding factor in them deciding to discontinue the Reginaldo Howard Memorial Scholarship Program, because I don't think they want to be sued. I mean, Duke have the money, but I'm just saying, I think it was that was one of the deciding factors. And I'm gonna leave that there. I'm not gonna share my personal thoughts about this, even though this is Sip and Say with Stephanie, and that's what I do. I'm just gonna leave it there because I don't even fault Duke. I ain't even gonna lie. I don't fault Duke. I don't fault Duke or the other universities who are making these changes. I fault us, the voters, or those that didn't vote in the 2020 elections, and we allowed this man to come in that put Supreme Court justices in place that have dismantled years of precedent. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. I'm going to end by saying this. Mr. Gideon, let me see who he is. Hold on, because I have just part of his name, but I don't have. Oh, here we go. Miss Hannah. All right. So Miss Hannah is a sophomore. And this is what she said, Miss Hannah Gideon. She said, we were just kind of told what was happening as it was happening. We felt very powerless, to be honest with you. She went on to say, we're all frustrated, obviously, but we've been expecting it for a while and kind of looking for next steps already. We're trying to find ways to preserve Reggie's legacy. Hannah ended by saying, we just want to make sure that Reginaldo Harris stays in the conversation in any way, shape, or form that we can, because he was a very prominent figure in Duke's history, period. Not Black Duke's history, not Latino Duke's history, just Duke's history. Voting matters. And I'm going to leave that there. Voting matters. All right, y'all. So those were the only two news stories that I wanted to share. Let me get my enunciation right, y'all. Those are the only two news stories that I wanted to share with you all. We'll use our remaining time to talk about Child Abuse Prevention Month and also Black Maternal Health. Y'all, Child Abuse Prevention Month, Awareness Month happens every single April. And it's a topic that's near and dear to my heart. I think child abuse happens often in the world. I really do. I think that children are abused at a higher rate and in a greater way that we will ever know. I think a lot of child abuse goes unreported because maybe the children are too young to really understand what they're navigating through, or they're too young to even know that it's wrong, or too young to speak out. And even for those children who are older, they may just be so afraid of the consequences of speaking out that they don't. And those are just a few reasons. I know that there's other reasons why child abuse goes unreported. Sometimes child abuse is reported, but when social services gets involved, they don't find any strong enough evidence to take additional measures, to protect the children. And so let's just talk about it, because I feel like child abuse prevention is a community effort. I think it's a school effort. community effort, a neighborhood effort, a church effort, a nonprofit effort, an organization effort, all of that being the community. It's truly a community effort for us to be aware of what child abuse looks like a generalization of what it looks like. So it could look specifically, it looks different like for each child, for each family, but there are general signs that you can look for or notice, and it could be child abuse happening in that family. And if you didn't know, in the state of North Carolina, we have a responsibility to report if we suspect child abuse. It's not just for educators, not just for staff that are in the education field, but in the state of North Carolina, North Carolinians, you have a responsibility to report. So I think it's just important for all of us to be aware of what child prevention or what child abuse is, what it looks like, and just what we can look for, and then things that we can do to support a child. But you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think I got the steps to support the child. I don't even think I grabbed that. So I'll talk my way through that, and then I will put the official information in the description after the broadcast. All right, y'all. So I failed to get a working definition of child abuse. I have some breakdowns of different aspects of child abuse. And I think I recognized that after I got home. So I'm going to look for a working definition on the Child Abuse Prevention website, which is where I received this other information that we're going to talk about. These are just the information I'm going to give you is 5 different pieces of, or different, I guess, aspects of child abuse is what it is. So let me give us a working definition. Because again, I forgot to add that to my notes. And so if you go to the childabuse.org website, which is where I am right now, and I'll put the link in the description. My computer is doing its thing. Yeah, I'm gonna just leave that there. It's doing its thing. Hallelujah. Yes. And so I am looking for it now. I'm looking for the definition. It's telling me about the organization and the different aspects of child abuse prevention. But let me see. That's not really what I want. Sorry, you all, that I don't have this information, but I'm looking for it as quickly as I absolutely can. But while I'm looking for it, you all, so Child Abuse Prevention Month, the reason why we have this month every April is to raise awareness about what child abuse is, and again, how the community can support children who we suspect are experiencing this horrific crime, because it is a crime. And so it raises awareness. It helps to strengthen the family to prevent child abuse. And again, it also brings communities together so that we can do our best to undergird the families and the children that are in our school community and in our living community, in our neighborhoods, okay? So that is a few of the purposes that we have this particular month. And I like how the month has evolved over the years, where it may have always been community focused, but over the last few years, I guess maybe I've just noticed that it's been more community centered. Like, let's just not give this responsibility just to the parents, even though it's 100% their responsibility. But let's get the community involved. Let's go with the African proverb, it takes a village to raise children. So let's church members, church family, nonprofit family, organization family, neighborhood family. Let's all be involved in supporting families with their children, especially if it's a situation where a family member has passed, like one, well, the family member being a parent, one of the parents have passed away, and the mom or the dad, the living parent is still, navigating their grief, trying to plan a funeral, but they still have children that they need to take care of. That's a perfect time for the neighborhood to step in and to undergird that family and support those children so that hopefully that situation will not turn into one of abuse because of the grief or the anger that the living parent is experiencing, especially if it was an unexpected death. And so, again, this is an opportunity for us to raise our awareness, for us to be educated so that we can take action as needed, if needed, when needed. So, some different, I'll say, I'll say issues or aspects of child abuse. That's what we're going to go over next. So, ACEs is one. It's so interesting. I was at a women's health awareness on Saturday, and I was talking to a teacher. We were just talking about children because, I was talking to her about my nonprofit. So we got to talking about children, and she was asking me, had I heard any talk about ACEs, because at one point it was really big, but the conversations about ACEs have died down over the years. And I was like, "Hey, you know what? I haven't heard much about ACEs either." I was like, I'm aware of it, I know about it, but I haven't heard a lot of conversation about it lately. And so, in case you don't know what ACEs is, it is adverse childhood experiences. Okay. And so, Kaiser Permanente in 1998, they did a study. Well, it was Kaiser Permanente and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC. They did a study to determine the connection between trauma and healthy development. And based on the information that the researchers and the practitioners gathered, they determined that there is a direct effect between healthy childhood development, healthy relationships, all of that as it relates to our childhood trauma. So let me share this with you. Childhood exposure to prolonged traumatic events may result in a toxic stress response, negatively affecting a child's brain development. These disruptions increase the risk of poor physical health, coping skills, or long-term cognitive impairments. If you have not researched ACEs, or if you have not seen the documentary with Dr. Nadine Burke Harris, if you have not seen that information, I encourage you to search it out, check out the information, check out the study. It is wonderful information. It's very enlightening, very eye-opening, not only for maybe the trauma that we experienced as a youth or as a child, but how we can work towards not passing that trauma on to our children. And if we've already passed that trauma on to our children, how we can help ourselves and them navigate it so that we can be healthy and whole individually and then, as a family unit. I do want to share that the study it examined the effects of childhood trauma and stress on adult health outcomes. That's what it did. In addition to what I've already shared, um, there were 10 categories based on this research, based on this study. There were 10 categories of childhood experiences that were defined, including child abuse. I'm sorry, excuse me, including physical abuse, emotional abuse, physical neglect, sexual abuse, emotional neglect, violence against a mother, parental divorce, household member with substance use or abuse issues, household member with mental illnesses, and a household member that was incarcerated. So those were some of the childhood, or those are the areas that were identified based on this study. So that's some of the trauma that you've indicated that they experienced. And so, again, based on our ACEs, if there's a history of childhood trauma and you're an adult and you have not dealt with that childhood trauma, you could potentially pass that trauma on to your child in the way that you raise them, in the way that you communicate with them, in the way that you engage with them, in the way that you communicate, talk with them, in the way that you discipline them. That could all have an effect. So, you all, if you're experiencing some childhood trauma, if you're willing to admit that you have experienced childhood trauma and that childhood trauma is still affecting you, I encourage you, I admonish you to seek out licensed professional help, like a therapist or a counselor, to help you navigate through that childhood trauma. So, again, you won't pass it on to your child, or if you have done so already, you'll be able to get healthy so you can make sure that your child is healthy, okay? All right. So, as we move on, child neglect prevention is an aspect of preventing child abuse. So, I am going to have to pull this up because I did not realize that I'm not able to see all of the information for the child neglect. Okay, sorry about that, you all. It did not print exactly as I wanted it to. But as I'm looking this up to share the definition for child neglect, I do want to share with you different types of neglect. So here we go. So child neglect occurs, and I am back on the preventchildabuse.org website. So child neglect occurs when children's basic needs are not adequately met, resulting in actual harm or potential harm. And we understand what those basic needs are: food, clothing, shelter, education, emotional support, nurturing, and healthcare. All of those are basic needs that children need. And if there are some inadequacies there, it is considered child neglect. Child neglect is the most common form of maltreatment or mistreatment of children. So some of the types of neglect can include physical neglect, like we just talked about, the food, lack of food, support, emotional, all of that. Or excuse me, I just went through everything with you. So physical neglect, a child's need for adequate food, clothing, supervision, housing, or protection from the environment is not adequately met. Medical neglect, meaning a child is not receiving dental care, health care, medical care that they need. Supervisory neglect or inadequate supervision is when a child is not receiving appropriate supervision, like they're outside playing and the parent or the legal guardian is in the house sleep. Something happens to the child, so that's an example of that. It could also include the child being exposed to hazardous materials, for example, bleach or other household cleaners that are readily available for the child or at their level where they can easily pull open the cabinet and it's right there for them to access, or it's out on the table or the floor, wherever the case may be. That exposure to hazardous materials falls under supervisory neglect. Educational neglect is when a school-age child does not receive appropriate educational services. This could be homeschool. Like if you say you're going to homeschool your child, make sure that you are homeschooling your child. Make sure that you're providing that education for them. If they're not being homeschooled, it's recommended that they get into school age 8, they should age 7, I think the law says in North Carolina, they need to be in school, you know. I think age 8, excuse me, age 7, I think is still on the books in North Carolina. It could have decreased down to 5. I'm not quite sure, but I know at one time it was 7. I'll look up that information and I'll put it in the description so that we can, I can have adequate, or not adequate, but accurate information for you. That could also mean EC services, like if your child needs an IEP or a 504 plan, then making sure that you're going through the proper channels through the school to get assessed to determine if those services are needed. And if your child has been assessed and they have been assigned a 504 plan or an IEP, and you are not taking them to school or taking them wherever they need to be for those services to be administered, that is considered educational neglect, okay? Because that assessment determined they needed those services for a reason and they need those services, okay? So make sure you're getting your children to school, whether it's a public school, private school, charter school, homeschool, make sure that they're getting to school and they're getting any additional services that have been um, given to them via an assessment, okay? An assessment, all right? Emotional neglect means that the child is not receiving enough care, enough emotional support, enough love and affection. Environmental neglect is a child living in an unsafe neighborhood where he or she has limited opportunities or resources, or where they're exposed to emotional hazards, not emotional hazards, Lord have mercy, environmental hazards such as lead poisoning, unclean water. Now, I understand, like, this is what it is. This is what it is, you all. But I do understand that sometimes you can only live where your money allows you to live. I understand that. I get that. I know that. But there are housing programs that could hopefully support you in getting in an apartment or a townhouse or a single family or single family home that would be healthy, in a neighborhood, you know, a neighborhood where the water treatment is good, and a neighborhood where there's not a lot of environmental toxins in the air. Toxins are in the air already, but not a lot of added environmental toxins, like not by a landfill or a waste dump, something like that. And so, yeah, again, we can only live where we can live. In some of the older buildings, I know, I don't know if all residential buildings that were that had lead paint. I don't know if all of them have been. I don't know if all of them are still in existence. I know that there have been some measures that have been taken to decrease the lead in those buildings. So I don't even know if some of those buildings are still standing across the United States. I didn't do any research about it. It's so interesting because the building that I'm housed in now is an older building, so there's some things happening there. But yeah, yeah. So yeah, environmental neglect, and that's actually something that I recently started hearing about. Environmental neglect, actually putting a terminology to, like, a hazardous environment, or a unsafe neighborhood where there's not access to a lot of resources. And so, yeah, that's just one neglect. Child neglect is one aspect of child abuse. I do want to note that there are some contributing family risk factors that for child neglect. They include a child with a disability, a parent with limited knowledge or a low intellectual ability. Um, Community factors could be parental unemployment, a lack of community support, burdens associated with poverty, which is huge. That's huge. Yeah. And just to let you know that it is important for us to note that positive relationships, including high quality parenting and care, are protective factors against child neglect. So, if you can, families, get your child into a high quality child care environment or in a learning environment at a school that is a safe and healthy space, for your child. I consider all schools to be healthy and safe. I understand that there are other factors that contribute to the unsafe environment, like people who come on campus and do things they should not be doing. Like I understand that, but I consider all schools, for the most part, to be a safe space for children. Now, when you start talking about the classrooms and the people inside the schools, that's another that's another conversation. Praise God. So, child physical abuse is an act or a failure to act or a circumstance that leads to harm or significant risk that a child will be harmed. This includes physical injury to a child, like kicking them, punching them, biting them, burning them, or any other action that could result in the physical harm of that child. I think all of us, or most of us, have seen the Good Times episode where Penny, played by Janet Jackson, was burned by her mother, played by Kim Fields' mom, Miss Fields. I can't think of her name right now. Mm. Starts with a T, I think, but Miss Fields, Miss Kim Fields' mom, Mrs. Fields. Forgive me for not remembering your name right now. But in that episode, Penny is abused, and her mother uses an iron to burn her. And then there's some bruises on her back as well. And so that is an example of child physical abuse. Okay. Um, Other identifying markers would be welts, human bite marks, bald spots, lacerations, burns, abrasions, discolorations of skin, unexplained bruises in various stages of bruising. All of those are examples that a child has been physically abused. You all, again, in North Carolina, we are a mandatory reporting state. So if you see it and you suspect it, it's best for you to call the proper authorities to investigate. Don't you do it on your own, but call the proper authorities to investigate. Some contributing risk factors for child physical abuse is whoever's doing the abuse struggling with alcohol or drug addiction. They lack healthy emotional control. There's economic stress, such as poverty or being in a low income environment. Also, children under one are more likely, now this one surprised me, children under one are more likely to be physically abused. I didn't realize that, but yeah. So those, you all, are some contributing factors of child abuse. Um, I do want to mention this, you all, that abusive head trauma is one aspect of child physical abuse. It happens when a child is violently shaken or if there is some harm inflicted by a blunt object, like if they're hit upside the head, with a blunt object. Shaken baby syndrome is also an aspect of abusive head trauma. Now, In this report, it does talk about corporal punishment, which is a physical force against a child with the intention of causing him or her to experience pain so as to correct his or her misbehavior. Now, look, this is what the report says. So I'm just sharing the information. Sometimes I'm under the opinion, or I'm of the opinion, that sometimes you just need to get a switch or a belt to the backside. I'm just under the opinion that that needs to happen for some children. Time out don't work for every child. Talking to don't work for every child. This gentle parenting don't work for every child. Lord, I did have to learn it. I ain't even gonna lie. Intentional parenting might be a different way to go, but child, sometimes you just might. I'm just sharing you what the reports say. Y'all raise y'all children the way that you need to raise them without abusing them, because you can spank a child without abusing them. Like you can whip up on them legs or that backside without abuse. All right, y'all. A few ways that we can prevent this from happening, you all, is to provide support services to families, whether that be at the school level or just in the community, a nonprofit, other community organization, the church. Excuse me, but providing those support services that families need, whether it's a drug addiction or drug addiction or alcohol addiction program that will help that family member get off of drugs or get off of alcohol, whether it be a food service program to hopefully relieve some of the strain and stress that that family feels if they are low income or in poverty, clothing programs that could hopefully get clothes for the child to wear. Maybe the clothes that they have are too small or too big, and they're asking their parent to get them more, more, or not more, but to get them, more clothes or different clothes or shoes. And that causes undue stress, on the parents because they can't afford it. And so providing community services to support children is a way to prevent child abuse, physical child abuse from happening. Also providing education and training to parents so that they will know how to control their emotions, so that they will know hopefully the drug and the alcohol is not helping, not even a little bit, so that they will know how to parent, because maybe this is the parent's first child and the child is unruly and they just don't know how to handle it, and abusing them is the way that they are handling it. So education, training, that kind of support could help families navigate themselves as an individual so that they can be healthy for their child. Let's see. And again, just meeting those basic needs of the child, like a food pantry, clothing pantry, healthcare services. In North Carolina, we have Medicaid expansion. And so just looking at ways that you can provide healthcare to your child through Medicaid. A lot of clinics, like health clinics, provide low cost services for dental work, for checkups and things of that nature if you happen not to qualify for Medicaid. And I just recently found out that there is a service in North Carolina. I don't have the information with me because I actually took it to work so that I could update our resource page for the families. And so I'll bring, it's called, I feel like it's called North Carolina Family Medicaid. I think it's what it's called. So what I will do, I won't do it tonight because obviously I'm not going back to work, but tomorrow I will make a note to remember to bring that information home so that I can add it to the description. That particular program is in place for families who don't qualify for Medicaid, but they still need services. They still need support. You can reach out to them. I think there are specific areas that they focus on, but you can reach out to them, via their contact information or check out their website to see exactly how they support families. But that is, again, available for families who may not qualify for Medicaid. So child sexual abuse prevention is defined as involvement of a child ages 0 to 17 in sexual activity to provide sexual gratification or financial benefit to the perpetrator. This could include behaviors that involve touching or, untouching, or actual like non-touching behaviors such as watching pornography or hearing like just conversations happening about sex acts or sexual activity. Also, penetration is also, included in that. Molestation is an example. Statutory rape, contact for sexual purposes, trafficking, showing those sexually explicit images, exposure to the body, incest or other exploitative or sexually exploitative activities. All of that is involved or included with child sexual abuse. I want you all to keep in mind that 91% of child sexual abuse is perpetrated by someone the child knows or by someone the child's family knows. So somebody that is known by the child or the family. We have to be so careful, you all, with our kids. Just be mindful about where your kids are, who your children are hanging out with. They're going over to somebody's house. Just being mindful of who those individuals are so that you can keep your child as safe as possible. Okay, so that's one way to prevent child sex abuse from happening. One way, just knowing where your child is, knowing who your family members are. Of course, we know family members that we grew up with, we know them pretty well, but maybe if you're introduced to another family member that you just learned about or whatever, just being mindful about family members, friends that are coming over, friends or friends that might be coming over to your home. Watch how they look at your children or engage with your children. That will help, hopefully, to prevent child abuse from happening with, or hopefully we discern and can tell what's going on so that we can reduce that 91%, right? So just being aware, being watchful, being discerning can help us prevent, and listening to your child. Like if there's a change in your child's appearance, if there's a change in your child's attitude, like they're very positive, happy child, but now they're withdrawn and sad or angry, if there is a change in their friendship circle, or maybe even how they, and I mentioned how they dress, in their friendship circle, even their appearance, something is going on with that child. So check in with them, find out what's going on so that hopefully you can prevent further and in my mind, what I'm thinking is, if that is happening, maybe a penetration, like an actual, all sex acts is bad, but hopefully you'll prevent like an actual penetration or incest type of a situation for, I guess what I'm trying to say, you can hopefully prevent it from escalating or prevent it from happening at all. Okay, because I know, seeing pornography and exposing body parts, that's horrible, that's horrific. But when a child is sexually abused, like through penetration, through actual sex, all of it is harmful and traumatic, but that can be an even greater event of traumatic experience for that child. And oftentimes, if it happens once, it continues to happen. If that adult or that person gets away with it, because sometimes teenagers are the perpetrators, and if that adult or that perpetrator gets away with it that one time, it's likely that they'll do it again. And so again, just be mindful of your children and their habits, their appearance, just everything about them, to hopefully prevent child sex child sexual abuse from happening. Again, for physical abuse, if you are a family member and you see that happening, if you're a teacher, community member, and you see those unexplained bruises or bites or bald spots or whelps or lacerations or anything that are unexplainable, like, children falling from, if they climb a tree and fall down, we understand that if they're riding their bike and they might be going so fast, they run into a tree or run into a car, or, just anything can happen with children, being adventurous and having fun. It can turn bad if they're not like paying attention, riding the bike or whatever. And I didn't mean to laugh, but I'm just saying I laugh because I'm clumsy. And I think that's why I'm kind of laughing at myself, not at the situation. But I know I can be clumsy, sometimes, and I know children can be clumsy or just not paying attention to what they're doing, and that harm can happen. So if it's something like that, of course, that's not physical abuse, but unexplained, those unexplained marks. And we need to, report that to the proper authorities so that we can support that child. And then again, neglect. If you see neglect happening, see what you can do to support that child. Maybe you can buy the family groceries, or you can take some good condition clothes that your child had, or good condition shoes that can support that family. Maybe you can give them a holy handshake where you are giving them maybe $100 or $50, or giving them enough to pay a bill or to buy groceries on their own, especially if there's allergies in the family or there's dietary restrictions, things like that. You can just maybe give them money or take them to the grocery store. If you don't want to give them money, take them to the grocery store, take the kids on a shopping spree, or to buy clothes and shoes and underclothes and things of that nature. And so there's things again that we can do. We can look for the signs, and then we can support families in any way we can. All right, y'all, let me take a sip. Okay, you all. So President Biden and Vice President Harris, they released a proclamation on Black Maternal Health Week on April 10th, 2024. I was going to go over this, but I'm not. I'm actually just going to put the link in the description so that you can have that information. Vice President Kamala Harris has been an advocate for Black maternal health for a while. Definitely since she's been vice president, she's been on the fight for Black maternal health and the awareness of it and prevention of it. And so I'm not going to read the proclamation. It is long. But I think there's one thing that I wanted to note here. So in the American Rescue Plan, you can go check it out. The American Rescue Plan, in it, states were given the option to provide a full year of postpartum coverage to women on Medicaid, increasing it from 7 days previously. So it had decreased from 60 days to 365 days. I don't know all of the states, but 45 of them. I'm curious to know, North Carolina, I'm curious to know if my state did this, knowing them doggone Republicans and legislators there. I digress. Voting matters. I'm going to just say that. 45 states, Washington, D.C., and the United States Virgin Islands provides that full year of critical care. Thank you to the 45 states who do that. Thank you, Washington, D.C. Thank you, U.S. Virgin Islands, because women need that support, you all. They need that support. They need that support. So thank you, President Biden, Vice President Harris, for providing that option in the American Rescue Plan into the states that support or that have taken advantage of it. And the affordable health care So within the affordable health care, there's some an average. So families save an average of 800 a year on health insurance premiums because when you have insurance, you're more likely to go to the doctor so that you can get the care that you need to stay healthy before you get pregnant, during your pregnancy, and after. Okay, because that prenatal care is so important. But that eating healthy, taking care of yourself before, especially if you know you want to have children, just taking care of yourself then, and then of course when you do get pregnant, just making sure that you're continuing to care for yourself. So that saving has happened for millions of families based on Affordable Care Act. Um, and President Biden and Vice President Harris has also released a blueprint to support the maternal health care crisis in the United States. There's some other things that are in here that you again can read for yourself. Um, I do want to mention this thing for new moms and expecting moms that the Biden Harris administration launched a maternal mental health hotline so that women who are experiencing any type of mental health crisis or just need to talk to someone, they can call, new and expecting moms in particular that are experiencing a mental, just need some support in their mental health. They can call this number. It is confidential, it's toll free, it's 24 hours, and it connects them to professional counselors to support them. I'm pretty sure if they're in a stronger crisis that additional support may be needed, but these counselors can help that mom navigate that or get her additional resources if that's what's needed. It has been noted that 1 in 5 women in America who experience maternal mental health conditions like depression or anxiety or substance use disorder, they can get the help. Oh, okay. So it was launched so that those 1 in 5 women can get the help that they need. I did not read that correctly, but so that they can get the help that they need. All right, so I'm going to put this to the side. And you all have heard me say this before, so this is a repeat. One in uh, 1 in 3 women, 1 in 3 Black women are likely to die from a pregnancy related cause than white women. So 3 times, Black women are 3 times more likely to die of a pregnancy related cause than white women. And of course, multiple factors are contribute to this, one of them being implicit biases. I don't know if you all have ever done any research or listened to or talked to women who have expressed the crises, is the word I'm going to use, that they experienced while they were pregnant and during their pregnancy. I was listening to a video today of a young lady who talked about having seizures while she was pregnant, but her doctor insisted that it was in her mind. She ended up having her baby prematurely. Thankfully, her baby and her are doing fine now. But those implicit biases, racism, are contributing factors for Black women being 3 times more likely than white women to die from a pregnancy related cause. Not only implicit bias or doctors not listening because of implicit biases, there is this stupid thought that Black women can bear pain um, or can bear extreme amount of pain more so than white women or other women, that we have a high tolerance for pain. That's an implicit bias that doctors hold, and it could be your doctor, yes. Racism is another contributing factor. Our quality of health care is a contributing factor. Underlying chronic conditions, and like I already mentioned, structural racism can cause women, Black women, I'm going to say it for the third time, Black women are 3 times more likely to die from a pregnancy related cause than white women. Oh, Jesus. So, Black Maternal Health Week is an opportunity for us to get educated about Black maternal health, for us to be aware of the disparities, if we're not already aware, but aware of the disparities Black mothers, Black women in general, but Black mothers face in going to the doctor and talking to their doctor and navigating the healthcare field as a pregnant woman and as a pregnant Black woman. I want to share some things that you can do to hopefully prevent a pregnancy related death with your loved one, for yourself and then for your loved one. Okay. In recognizing that disparities exist, implicit biases exist, and structural racism exists and are contributing factors to the death of Black women for maternal or pregnancy related causes. Okay, these are some things that you as a family can do. You can talk to your healthcare provider if something doesn't feel right. And I'm going to go on record and say if that healthcare provider does not listen, it's okay to go to another one to get a second opinion or a third opinion. It is okay. I know you want to stick with your existing OBGYN or your existing doctor, but if they're not listening, and I guess if you're not too far into your pregnancy, because I did hear a Black woman say she was pregnant and she did not get the support from her doctor that she felt like she needed, but she said her pregnancy was so far along that she decided just to stick with them and not go to another doctor. That might be what you want to do, or you might want to go to another doctor anyway. You know, you make the best decision or choice for you. But again, talk to your healthcare provider if something does not feel right. Know know your body, like know how you're feeling before pregnancy, know some of the feelings that you have experienced in your body while you're pregnant. And if something does not feel right, seek immediate care. Okay. And I'm going to talk about, I actually have some warning signs that you can look for. So if you are experiencing like multiple of these warning signs that I'm going to share with you in a minute, seek help immediately. Okay, go to the emergency room, call 911, urgent care, just seek immediate help. Okay. Yeah, and I'm like I said, I'm going to get to those in just a minute. You can share your pregnant history, especially, of course, if you're, this is your second, third, fourth, fifth, 10th child. Share your pregnancy history when you go to your medical care visits, and then connect with healthcare support systems, network or not network, but connect with other networks like social media. Like mother groups, or there might be some nonprofits in your community, or your church may have a group for pregnant women. So just connect with any social groups or social organizations, or recommend or groups that your doctor recommends to you to give you the support that you need before your pregnancy, while you're pregnant, and after your pregnancy. So, healthcare providers, this is for you. You can listen. Listen to that pregnant woman when she is talking to you. Hear what she's saying. Listen to what she is saying, especially if it's a Black pregnant woman. Listen to all pregnant women, but we're talking about Black maternal health in particular right now. Listen, hear her concerns, listen to her concerns, address her concerns, make a plan of action for her concerns. Ask questions so that you better understand the information that the pregnant mother is, or the pregnant woman is relating to you. Help your patients understand maternal warning signs and to know how to seek medical attention if they are experiencing any of these warning signs. Again, we're going to get to that in just a minute. Help your patient, that pregnant woman, manage their chronic health conditions, any depression, any diabetes, any other mental health concerns that they have. Support them, help them to navigate that, including getting them or sharing with them the resources that can support them, including mental health care professionals, therapists, or counselors that can support them. Recognize the implicit biases that you have within yourself and admit them, recognize them, admit them, address them, and as best you can, get rid of them or try not to let that show or be a factor in how you work with your patients, support your patients, give them the healthcare plan that they need to have a successful pregnancy, during the pregnancy, and a successful post-pregnancy time. Make sure that you're providing that patient with care that is respectful to them, regardless of who they are or their backgrounds, respectful to them, and that you are providing quality care. Don't save all the quality care for the white mothers. Give quality care for all mothers. Black mothers, Latino mothers, Asian American mothers, Native American mothers, but in particular, we talk about Black maternal health, Black mothers. Healthcare systems, hospitals, clinics, these are some things that you can do. Identify and address concerns and identify and address concerns or areas of structural racism and biases within your hospital, your healthcare facility. Address them, y'all. They there. We know they're there. Because these Black women wouldn't be dying if they weren't there. They're there. So address them, admit them, acknowledge them, and address them. Improve the delivery of quality prenatal and postpartum care. Train your non-obstetric, Lord have mercy. That's just like when I did the diaspora. I pronounced it incorrectly when I was doing a session a couple of months ago. I don't even know why I said diaspora. I don't even know. My enunciation can be off sometimes. So train your non-obstetric care providers to ask about pregnancy history in the preceding year. So make sure everybody is on board, everybody on that healthcare team is on board, okay? Standardize the coordination of a healthcare plan and response to emergencies, preeclampsia. Have a plan in place for that. If the birth is starting vaginal, but something is happening that the vaginal birth is not, no longer feasible, already have a plan in place. Like have your healthcare plans in place prior to that woman coming in to deliver. Communities, this is what we can do. States, this is what we can do. We can assess and coordinate delivery hospitals for risk appropriate care. We can support the review of the causes and opportunities for prevention behind pregnancy-related death. We can also identify and address social factors influencing maternal health, such as transportation access, unstable housing, substance use, food insecurity, racial and economic inequality, violence. We can address these in our community by providing that family with the resources that could support them in these areas. So let's all be involved in supporting pregnant women. Now, look, if you reach out to that family and that family says, no, thank you, then take a hands-off approach, pray for them, and just be available if they need you. All right, y'all, so these are some warning signs that we talked about, that if you are experiencing any of, multiple of these warning signs, seek help immediately, okay? Seek help immediately. So one of the warning signs is dizzy or faint. Oh, let me go back up. A headache that won't go away or that gets worse over time. Like if you're starting to feel some severe pain, like a clap of thunder, or there's excessive throbs or blurred vision or dizziness, seek help. If there is prolonged dizziness or faint, or you pass out, excuse me, if that lightheadedness or dizziness is ongoing or comes and goes over several days, seek help. If you're experiencing a gap in memory, seek help, okay? Um, if you see flashes of light or bright spots, again, we talked about blurred vision, any blind spots, or you can't see for a short time, seek help. If your temperature, if your temperature elevates to 100.4, that's fever, then seek help. If you have extreme swelling of your hands or your feet, your rings no longer get on, your eyes are puffy, your lips and your mouth feels swollen, or you feel a loss of sensation, seek help. If you have thoughts of harming your baby, if you're feeling sad or hopeless, like you're not good enough, that you don't have control of your life, seek help. Okay? If you're extremely worried all the time, seek help. If you're having any scary thoughts about harming yourself or harming your baby, seek help. If you're shortness of breath, suddenly or over time, and if you try to breathe, you can't breathe deeply enough to get enough air in your lungs, get some help. If your throat or your chest feels tight, if you're having trouble breathing when you're laying flat, I'm sorry, let me try that again. If you're having trouble breathing when you're lying flat, you might need to get some help, okay? Yeah, you need to get some help. Like if you need to prop your head up with a pillow or those other cushions, like those pregnancy cushions and things that I've seen, to sleep, you may need to get some help because something might be going on. And it's better to check and nothing be wrong than not check and something serious is happening, okay? Again, that tightness in the chest, any pressure, fast heartbeat, irregular heartbeat, your heart skips a beat, and there's dizziness or fainting or disorientation involved in this, then you need to seek some help. If you have severe nausea or throwing up, including a dry mouth, headaches, confusion, fever, dizziness, or lightheadedness, like if all of that is happening, you can't keep any water or fluids on your stomach, then seek some help. If you're having severe belly pain, like sharp stabbing pain, cramp-like belly pain, that won't go away, seek help, okay? If your baby's movement stops or it slows down during your pregnancy, go get some help to make sure that your baby is still alive, okay? If you're having vaginal bleeding or fluid leaking during your pregnancy, if there's any spotty vaginal discharge that has an unpleasant odor to it, get some help. If you're passing blood clots, in addition to that, if you're passing blood clots, get some help. If you are experiencing swelling, tenderness, or pain in your leg, it hurts when you flex your leg or your foot, or it hurts when you stand up and walk. If your space is red, swollen, or warm to the touch, get some help. And that is the last of it. So yeah, if you're experiencing one or more of those things and you are pregnant, make sure that you get some help immediately. Seek immediate help. Whatever that looks like, calling 911, so the ambulance can come, your spouse taking you to the hospital, especially if you live close, or urgent care. I would say the hospital, and not necessarily urgent care with these particular symptoms. Or whatever, whatever your plan is, or maybe you've already talked it over with your healthcare professional, whatever plan you all have decided on, whatever it is, seek immediate help if you're experiencing any of those things for the health and safety of yourself and your baby. Okay, I did want to get into some other things, but I think as it relates to pregnancy, but I think I will leave that there. You all, let's Black women, y'all, we deal with a lot just as Black people, and then as Black women, then as pregnant Black women. But you all, I'm going to add some links to the description so that you can look up this information for yourself. If there's anybody in your family, your wife, your daughter, your niece, your granddaughter, your cousins in the family, just any women in your family who are pregnant, call them, text them, take some food by, go sit with them, like support them as best you can during this pregnancy so that they feel supported, so that their support system is in place to increase or to, to increase their happiness, to help them to maintain their happiness and joy throughout the pregnancy. And even if they're experiencing some sadness and depression and you know this and they're getting some help, that's even the more reason to go by and see them or to call them to keep them as healthy as possible during the pregnancy. We want our very best for that number for Black women being 3 times as likely to die from a pregnancy related cause than white women. We want that number to decrease to no women dying from a pregnancy related cause, okay? And so let's support our Black women. Again, I'll put some resources about this in the description. Okay, y'all, that is the show for tonight. Hey, Uncle Darnell, how you doing? And to all my listeners, thank you so much for joining me. I know it's a lot of information, but y'all know I like to give us as much information as I can to support our wellness and our health, you all. So remember, please be reminded, I will not be on the Stephanie Humphrey channel or the Stephanie Humphrey podcast for the next 2 weeks. I'll actually be in a training both Thursdays, so I will not be available for Sip and Say with Stephanie next week, and then for the Biblical Conversations the first Thursday in May for our Let's Talk About It Bible Edition. I will not be available, so you all enjoy your life. Check out Roland Martin on the Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network, or another channel, or just relax. Those Thursdays, I will miss you all. I really will miss you all, but I'm appreciative of the trainings that have been made available to me, so I'm going to take advantage of them. Also, when we come back on May 9th, that May is Ministry May. So on May 9th, I will have Apostle Gwenna K. Span McCarty. She brought the word on my 25th anniversary celebration. She will be joining me for Women in Ministry. And one of my pastors, Pastor Chalise Henderson, she will be joining us as well. So I will have 2 guests that will serve as panelists to talk to us about women in ministry. Look, if you have some questions already, you can go to BeFreeMinistriesNC.org and go ahead and submit your question so that we can have the answer readily available to you. You can always also chat with us live and share your questions in real time, and we will answer them in real time, okay? So I will see you all back May 9th. In the meantime, take care of yourself, take care of your family, take care of your community, take care of others as best you can, you all, okay? So I will see you all on May 9th, all right, y'all? See you on May 9th. I'll miss you, but I'll be back in full effect on May 9th. I almost wish I was coming back on the Sip and Say with Stephanie so I can tell you all about my adventures, but I'll get to it as May progresses, okay? So May 9th is going to be Women in Ministry. May 16th is going to be, not May 16th, May 16th is Men in Ministry. That Thursday is Men in Ministry. So we look for it, and then I'll get some Sip and Say with Stephanie that following Thursday. I don't know what the date is, but I'll get with you on that during the Men and Women in Ministry. Okay, y'all, I don't want to let you go because I know I won't see you in 2 weeks, but I know you all have to go, and I need to go and scare up dinner. So you all take care, be blessed, and I will talk to you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.